Yeah, I just can't touch the table, Pete.
Oh, come on.
Get him in the picture.
Holy jeez, can't touch the table.
Here we go.
Do not touch the table.
Okay, so this is our attempt. I know the microphone.
Is it okay having your
Right there. So this may or may not go online,
advertisement?
and I may. Oh yeah, look at that. We got
Get your
thing in the
advertisement
background.
No, yeah, we can see it.
We're at Top
pretty
Shape Studios with Pete, the owner, and my new friend Guy Smith, which sounds made up. So I don't know.
Try signing into a hotel as Guy Smith.
Yeah.
You get a lot of, and will your niece be staying with you, Mr. Smith? But you get used to it.
Yeah. Should we be expecting any visitors, Mr. Smith?
No luggage.
Yeah. And so anyway, I'm trying to get the Never Quit Radio back up. Did you ever watch?
Yeah, I watched a bunch.
Watched a couple.
Yeah.
I deleted them, just so you know.
There's no more? Okay.
Well, no, I had to delete my account, and so I was gonna download them into the computer, but I thought, fuck it, and I don't have that kind of time.
You don't got them backed up anywhere or anything?
Nah.
It doesn't hurt
time.
a little bit? Feel like a bit of your
I'm
soul
I'm
is
no
gone?
I'm cutting myself out of the picture.
You're never going to be able to use them as.
I'm a new. I don't get attached to things that much. Sorry, and like a few things I get attached to, but if I lose something, it's never been a big like whenever I move, I never have trouble getting people to help me move because I give everything away.
Yeah.
So like last time I moved, I was giving away car parts and tools, and because to me, it's eventually if I need it again, I'll just buy, or I'll borrow, or I'll go and I like looking for stuff, I like old stuff. So anyway,
I'm a hoarder.
when I looked, I reviewed them all, and there was one that I kind of wish I'd kept, the one Scott and I did when I refired up Never Quit Radio back in December. But we'll just do another one. It'll be just as good.
I feel little things like that are part of your soul. Like, you can get rid of it, but I'll always, there's always a gem or there's always something that you can't
I'm the same way.
recreate.
I'm a hoarder. I have drawers and drawers of stuff I haven't used in years, but I keep it.
Did it take you a long time to admit to being a hoarder? Did it take Hoarders, the show, coming on?
Not even close. It's one of those things.
I denied it.
I keep everything.
I don't keep
I
it.
never know when I'm going to need it again.
The only thing I keep is books.
Yeah.
I have a lot of books and magazines. I threw out probably the first 5 years of Maxim when it came out.
Lots of books in the office, lots of magazines.
Yeah, that's when my wife and I met. We both have the same. I've broken it now. Now I'm working against it. But I couldn't walk past a box of books at a garage sale
without looking or
without taking them. They're like they needed a home.
Well, the guy and I met at our daughter's dance, and they got a wall full of books.
Okay.
So yesterday was it Saturday? What's
Saturday.
today?
Saturday.
Sunday.
Today's
So yesterday, I show up and he wasn't there the week before, and then he's talking to me, and I couldn't sit next to him because somebody else was there. So I'm sitting down right in front of the books, and as he's talking, I'm sitting there going, "Ooh, look at that book! I should read that one."
I should take that book.
Well, podcasts have completely screwed up my reading regime. I can't spell anymore. I used to be. I pride myself on being a linguophile. I was a voracious reader, but for the last 5 years,
that word sounds made up.
Yeah, the last 5 years I've been only listening to words.
Word of the day.
I can't spell anymore.
Yeah, well, I think what that is that's texting and tweeting and.
No, I don't text that much either. It's literally I don't read, and reading is.
Everything is spelled corrected for us though these days. We don't have.
Well, that's what I mean. Like when I'm typing, if I don't know the word now, like the Mac Word Mac's version of.
It's hurting our brains. It's
BlackBerry, everything does it all for you.
You ever play poker online?
No, not yet.
You ever play poker online?
I'm not a gambler.
So if you play poker at a table, nobody's prompting you, telling you like instantly what the next thing is. It's a completely different game.
It's a totally different game as opposed to playing with a bunch of guys.
Exactly. So online, it prompts you, it tells you what you have to do, it tells you exactly how much to bet. So the whole thought process is a lot shorter. You do
not good if you ever have to play poker.
Exactly. I played.
Or if you ever have to be in a casino.
Yeah, I lost my $50. I thought, man, I'm an expert online. So I brought all my buddies.
But online does everything for you. Exactly.
I brought all my buddies over who I figured for sure I've
you
been
got to play.
online for 2 years. I lost my $50.
Yeah,
just turning off my ringer.
Texas Hold'em. You got to play. You got to play with the guys.
I had a buddy who paid his rent and his bills and all that, doing online poker for like 2 years.
Possible.
He said he'd go
pretty
weeks
good. Yeah, you can get
without would lose, like he'd be like $28,000 in the hole, and then one day he'd get on a run and he'd make like $100,000.
You know, some big balls.
Well, considering he was doing
pockets.
it with Army money, like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, it's not like he made a lot of money to begin with.
No.
This is right after he got out of the Army. He did this.
He was making money.
Well, he made enough to pay his bills, but like, cause he got back into the Army, and I ran into him. I'm like, I thought you were like a big gambly, super gambler guy. I was like waiting to see you on the
poker tour.
He's like, yeah, you don't
World
make money.
Series.
I was like, you don't make money.
Probably spend money to get to a position, right?
He was
to get
always
to a ticket or a game.
right? He'd lose the money and get it back, and then pay his rent or whatever. But then he never like had money.
You never won. Yeah, you never won a lot of cash.
So he just he got back in the Army.
You're never ever really ahead of the game.
So
I have a relative who just got back into the Army. Is the best. Are you military background?
No.
So this guy, you may have heard of this guy. There's a little bit of military lore. He was in the military. Stephen Pengelly's his name. He was deployed somewhere in Europe. Came to a church. The soldiers who were he was occupying the church. The invading force came to the church and said, "Relinquish your arms." He would not relinquish his arms. He got a medal for this. They wouldn't lay down their arms. It was a big international event, and he got really raised really quickly. Got out of the military, became an insurance agent.
okay.
And just about lost everything. He, like his home, his wife, everything. Got back into the militia, got back into the Reg Force as a captain, or whatever is a high rank, and now his whole life is back on track. The military, to some people, is once you're in it, it's everything.
Oh yeah,
It's everything.
I've heard of generals that they retire and within a couple months they've gone almost crazy.
Yeah.
Because, like, they're a general, they could pick up the phone and have like tanks and helicopters and planes and boats turn around on a dime, and then they wake up one day and there's nobody at the door going, "Sir, you're going to be here at this time, here at that time, you need to wear this, and this is going to be," and then they pick up the phone and everyone goes, "Yeah, how's retired life?" "Oh, I was hoping to," yeah, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Nobody hops to for him anymore.
Yeah.
And it's also, even at a general's level, the military, it's a very structured life, you know. As much as they're in charge, they're also very much nobody's above tradition, right? Like even the Queen or the Prime Minister or the President, there's a way things are done, and there's protocol, right? And you can there's little changes that happen here and there, but
you can't bypass everything.
There's people that have zero effect on policy or law making or anything, but you mess up the protocol, and they're the ones going, "Hey, you fucked up," and you don't want to piss those guys off.
No, yeah, you piss those guys off.
But yeah, so I think I've met people that are 20 years or 18, almost 20 years in the military. Some people that's it could be any job, but
it's like institutionalized.
Yeah.
They're institutionalized.
Well,
like a prisoner can't live on the streets. A lot of soldiers can't.
You can't. Well, I mean, think about what the job is, right? Go anywhere at the drop of a dime, do shit nobody else will do for $50,000 a year, literally.
Yeah, that's scary.
People won't pick up garbage for $50,000 a year. So, yeah, people do, but I'm saying and we're sent places and. I got blown up. People got killed. And you never know. Way easier ways to make $50,000 a year.
Well, think about it in the States right now with the military.
A lot easier ways.
You're a Mexican guy. I don't even think you have to be an American citizen to join the.
Well, they've never.
The Army. So you're.
Well, I know you don't have to be to join the Marines.
So you're
anything.
No. Bottom of the peg.
You can be Canadian and go over to the States and join the Marines.
I tried.
You can't feed your family.
I thought you could.
Well,
my point is,
what do you mean you can't feed your family?
Well, if let's say you're on, you're not in the military. You're a welfare candidate, okay, in the States right now. Yeah. Can't feed your family. You have no future, no outlook.
That's where the recruiters are going.
Exactly,
They're going into the.
Yeah, but.
They're going into the lowest income places on earth.
So why would you join the Army?
Here's a guy who's used to making minimum wage or less, really, when you stretch it, we'll say minimum wage. And then all of a sudden he gets a uniform. He gets to be part of something. He gets to go somewhere. He gets 3 meals a day. He gets to send money home. And then the war's over, or the whatever's over. The deployment's over. And where do you go? Where are you?
Well, the States is different though. They have bases all over, and
no, but I mean,
they're even though they're not reported, like there's a lot of scraps that happen. Like
that's going on all the time.
The States are in
Panama
150. The States have bases in 150 countries in the world. There are 115. One or the other.
A lot.
It's 115 different bases.
But it's not a base. So some of them are like a 5-man office somewhere.
Sure. They're not all.
But it's a lot of them are little like bases that they maintain for the CIA or SF guys or whatever. But they our guys, like I trained in Petawawa for almost 10 years before we did anything. Mm-hmm. We went to Kosovo, just like Bosnia,
because there wasn't really anywhere to go.
There wasn't anything to go there to. Was. We just did. The government at the time they didn't want to deploy us, or and money's a big deal too. Like even if you have an army, if you don't spend, one of the biggest obstacles we had in Afghanistan was we didn't have the lift capacity
to carry people. What do you mean the lift capacity?
Well, like we had to bum flights from the Americans or rent those Russian humongous Anatovs. Now that we have those, we keep knocking the table, but we got to be careful. One of the C-17 super lifter or whatever, the one we sent to Mali. Mm-hmm. Before we had that, all we had were those C-130. Mm-hmm. And they're awesome planes, but it's like, they're like a pickup truck, and you need an 18-wheeler to move stuff. So with the Americans, to go to Afghanistan with them in 2002, everything was flown on their planes. So if, if we had a load of stuff, but they had a load, like literally a plane full of toilet paper, their toilet paper went before our stuff because it's their plane. Yeah. And when I was there, when I got wounded, all the medevac choppers were American. So the one that would have been perfect to come get me was already gone, because it had picked up an American and flown to Bagram, which is north of where we were. And how cool would it have been to have a Canadian chopper come pick me up, or get on the plane, get on the horn and call in air support and talk to a Canadian instead of a British, Dutch, American, French.
ISS.
It's cool, but at the same time, maybe there are times when you needed support, but you couldn't quite get what you needed because it belonged to somebody else.
Now, did that change when Canada took over the mission? Did that change?
Well, no. They eventually sent our helicopters, which the guys love because it's Apaches were always around, A-10s were always around, but they're not ours. No. Right? And then if you're in a scrap and the Americans are in a scrap and it's an American plane, well, they're not flipping coins, right?
They're going to go and help the Americans.
They're going to go help the Americans, and we had artillery and we had we carried a lot of firepower, but there's always something like reassuring about, because even the way they talk on the radio is totally different. And so I fell into because I was working with the Green Berets a lot, so I started talking like them on the radio, and then I talked to Canadian and they'd be like,
"What are you talking about?"
Well, because our radio operators are very strict, and they're good. It's good that they're strict because they keep you on protocol, right? And so because the Americans, instead of saying over, they say good copy with a question mark, like, and then so your response is good copy. Yeah, I understood, right? So it's like, hey, I need a bomb at this grid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good copy, over. And then they're like, they don't even say over. I just did that.
Yeah, they say.
And they go, good copy, grid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Roger that, right? So I'm doing that to the Canadian command post, and they're like, 6, Roger, out. And I'm like, oh, right, fuck.
Yeah, you're Canadian.
Because I'm like, 6-3 Charlie, we're going to be moving to grid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Set up our OP there. Good copy.
And they're like,
and you can hear the guy, though. He's just like, oh, here's the radio click on. He's like,
fucking Canadian been hanging around.
6-3 Charlie, this is 6, Roger, grid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, out.
I was around.
Because that's how we end a conversation with out. The Americans just ended.
They don't. Yeah,
they're like, hey Billy, what's going on over there? Hey, no problem, buddy. And then you can't help but get sucked into that. Yeah. And they fuck around on the radio too, whereas you're not on the radio unless you have a reason to be.
Yeah.
Whereas they'll, like, I started falling into it because we were supporting them, and the captain of the team is like on the radio making fun of his guys in the middle of a gunfight. So we're watching from our hill, and I'm like, pick up the radio, and I'm like, yeah, Rob, well, you're fat, and I put down, and I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen? He's like, shoot, you want to come down here and say that, Jody? I'm like, well, fuck, maybe I will. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute, aren't you in a gunfight? He's like, oh yeah, I'm just chilling right now. The boys are handling it. And I'm like, all right. So we start talking about what we want to do that night, and then I'm like, wait a minute, you're in a gunfight. I'm like,
gallows,
and
it's the net. It's not like
everybody's listening in.
I get down to the command post later, and our OC, hey Jody, how about you just don't
get involved?
Or actually, he's like, Master Corporal, I understand you enjoy working with the Americans, and they're nice guys, but we're not going to start acting like them.
We'd rather you didn't get involved.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, but had a lot of fun.
I got a question. What is Never Quit? Like, what is Never Quit Networks? What is your focus?
Well, Never Quit Radio was something I started in 2010.
Yeah, at least.
And I got the idea from listening to the Joe Rogan podcast.
Got a lot of good ideas.
And
Joe's is great. That's a great podcast.
And I wanted it to be about other people that are dealing with certain things, and I bought like a pay-as-you-go cell phone. I was gonna have people call in, and my buddy Johnny, who's a comedian, was gonna try and be on the show, but
what's Johnny's last name?
Guardhouse. So he's in Toronto, and we tried doing the link, but there was a delay. Remember old school satellite phones?
There's always a delay. Yeah.
There's
like a 3 or 4 seconds.
In Kosovo in 2000, we had this phone, and you'd talk,
and
you'd hear it being said.
Yeah.
And then, anyway, you always talk. So we were doing that, and it didn't work. And so I was like, okay, until we can figure it out. And then we moved, and life really sucked for a while. We got the contractor that was renovating the house so I could use my wheelchair fucked with us, and he took forever. And then, blah blah blah. We had another kid.
Right.
A lot of shit happened. So my buddy Scott came to town. He was in 1RCR with me, and he kept kind of just hinting. He'd drop hints on Twitter or Facebook, or I'd talk to him, and he'd be like, yeah, why don't you do a podcast? And I'd be like, yeah. I still had all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so anyway,
the equipment's there.
The account was still there on Ustream. So that, but Never Quit started as like, basically a self, what do you call those things? A self
motivational.
Is it mantra or something? Or
Never Quit,
it just
quit.
became
Something you just.
And I kind of stole it from underwater demolition Navy divers. I don't know if they say never quit, but their training is really hard, and it's really long, and they every 2 or 3 years, maybe like 10 guys pass this course that they run, and it's in Vancouver, I think. I can't remember, but anyway, I remember watching it on the military channel or something, and when they're in training, when they run through a doorway, they jump up and they smack because they have a sign at the top of the door that says, I don't remember, it says never quit or always forward or something, but it's catchy, and they'll say them like smack it, they'll be like never quit, and as they each run through the door, so it's their little mantra for the day, right? Because they get cocked pretty hard,
yeah,
but in the training. So I saw that one day, and I was like, okay. I was at a bit of a low point. I was telling you I got kind of fat there, and I think it was between my one run and my next run that I was going to do, but I was just feeling shitty, and I was like, to remotivate myself, I just said, okay, from now on, it's, even if it's just mentally, hit that sign. Never quit. And I started on Facebook for a while. It was every time I put a post up for about 6 months, it was, hey, good morning everyone, never quit. And then Twitter, same thing, and it just kind of grew from there. And
that's how we know him now.
Yeah.
That's how we know Jody now.
So
never quit. There's no quit in that boy. That's good.
I did an event with a buddy. We took 10 other wounded guys, and we took a local Ottawa kid who lost both feet to bacterial meningitis and his mom to Toronto for the first UFC in Toronto. I think that was April 2011.
It was recent.
Yeah.
And
just last year,
was it? Well, April 2011.
Almost
so
2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago.
And
yeah, it doesn't seem like that long.
I picked the guy to help me because he's really good at organizing stuff, and he's got a lot of motivation. He's another guy from the unit, Dave. And I said, this is a test. If this works, if people have a good time, if they get motivated and they feel good, then maybe we'll go further, right? So we did the event, and I met the Trailer Park Boys when I did the Target Newfoundland rally race. It's a big long rally race, and the Acura Dealers of Canada gave us a car, and a buddy of mine who lost his leg, Andrew Nisley, it was his idea. So anyway, we did it. We met the Trailer Park Boys on it. So I called them and I said, "Do you guys want to come to UFC?" And the Royal York gave us hotel rooms. We paid for flights. We got some money from a sponsor, T-shirt sponsor called Area 51 Fight Gear. And they gave us some money, and we got some money from a few other just give it, right? Because we're not a charity. Yeah. So I initially put $10,000 worth of tickets for the UFC on my credit card, and that really hurt. And we recouped most of the money, not all of it. And then the idea was that I didn't want the guys to have to do anything except have a good time and be around like guys. Because right now, I'm the guy with his legs blown off. He's the guy in a wheelchair. For 10 blocks in any direction, we're probably the only guys with that. Yeah. So when you're new to it, you've been
disabled my whole life.
Yeah. So for you, it's maybe a little different, but for when it's new, you're very self-conscious of it, and it kind of sucks being the guy, right?
Even so, when you're
in a group, suddenly you're just a guy, right?
You can still be pretty self-conscious about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're like I was saying, when I'm at the gym sometimes, I'll be working out and I'm in shorts. I don't really care, but I know what the chick with the big tits on the treadmill feels like now. Yeah. Because out of the corner of your eye, you catch people always
gawking at you.
Looks, and not gawking so much as it's respectful. I don't know about the chick with big tits.
Trying to be respectful. You're not really respectful of the chick with big tits.
You're an oddity, right?
Nobody's respectful. Everybody's gawking at the chick with big tits. You're like drooling. You're like, you're not even training anymore. You've just given up. Yeah. And you're looking.
Yeah, you're pretending to hang out by the water cooler.
Yeah.
But
you're starting to be one of these.
You get into a group of guys that have had their legs blown off or broken their backs or whatever.
Been through hell.
And suddenly you're just a guy. Yep. Right? And so I knew we were successful because the first night we went out to the Jack Astor's across the street from the Royal York. Yeah. And before we left, we met in the bar in the lobby of the Royal York. And there was a really young soldier. He was I think he was 23, maybe tops, 23. He was the youngest guy of the group except for the teenager or the young kid we brought.
The little kid.
Tyler was the little kid. Yeah. And then, actually, I think the soldier's name was Tyler too, to be honest.
Really?
And so he had his right
leg.
One of his legs below the knee blown off.
Yeah.
And so he comes into the bar, and he was a little late-ish, and he sits down for a bit, and then he just kind of jumps up and he mumbles something about needing something from his room. And we're like, okay, yeah, whatever. And it's me and Paul Franklin, the guy who was wounded in 06. He lost both legs to here. Yep. And another guy who lost both feet.
Nisley.
Was Nisley? Yeah, Nisley was there. A whole group. Yeah. And we're all in shorts. Yeah. Because part of my thing was I wanted people to see our sponsor's T-shirt and see us all with
disabilities.
Just with the prosthetics, right? And be like, never quit. What's that, right? And then his girlfriend turns to us and she's like, "Oh my God!" And I'm like, "What? And she's like, "He's going to put on shorts." I didn't even notice he was in jeans, and I'm like, "Yeah."
Never did it before.
And she's like, "He hasn't worn shorts since he got hurt," and I was like, "We did it."
Beautiful.
Just if he walked away with the ability to wear shorts and not be self-conscious of the fact that he had a fake leg.
In a public place on top of that with a bunch
and
of...
a super... Then we won.
That's huge.
It worked.
It's not... It is, but it's really not any different than anything else. It's like, everybody has something. something that they're self-conscious about. So maybe, like, well, you were born with something that maybe you were self-conscious because you were different. But, you know, it's sort of like in the same paradigm, but with a lot more emotion and a lot more at stake. Really? Because everybody, well,
you take 10 people with a disability, bring them all to the beach. 8 out of 10 of them are not going to put a bathing suit on.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. We put him in a position where he felt silly for not showing off the fact that he had a fake leg.
Because
not that he felt silly.
He felt out of place. Which is okay.
Yeah, he was like,
everybody else is wearing shorts.
And then we went to the bar, and you know, we had the money, so we picked up the tab, and the Trailer Park Boys showed up, and the whole point was just, I call it positivity injection, right? If you can't walk away from that going, man, that was a fucking awesome weekend.
Positive energy.
And feel the energy, because your fighters are some of the most positive, down-to-earth people. I've said this a lot.
They really are.
I connect with fighters the way I connect with soldiers. We're a very similar breed. They're more warrior soldiers. You know, as much as soldiers are called warriors, we're not really warriors. We're a team. Warriors fight independently.
Soldiers are followers.
Well, it's not that we're followers. We need a team.
They work in a group.
And a warrior, the reason Rome conquered the world is because they showed up with soldiers, right? And everybody showed up with their tribal warriors, right? And that worked for a while. But anyway, the point is that we have that mentality, right? And soldiers and fighters, I find we meld well. And you know, Randy Couture came back to meet with the guys, and he's an ex-airman. It was right before the weigh-ins though, so he's all fucking dehydrated. He can barely move. You see him. He walked back, and he was almost like stuck with a smile, and he's moving really stiff. And everybody's hanging out with him, taking his picture, and he's just like,
I'm feeling really gross.
That's a stupid process.
Well, yeah, but these guys are just, you know,
it's pretty crazy.
Like that. That's
pretty crazy.
So it makes no sense.
You've seen some pretty insane cuts.
But so are you? So it was soldiers? It was all soldiers for the most part?
This one was, but that's who I know. So now we've got permission from the Canadian Revenue Agency to start a charity. And we have first you have to get a business number.
Right.
So we have that, and then we have some paperwork to send in.
Right.
And then we have to run an event, and we'll get our charitable status. And anyone who's ever been in a uniform, or we deem, you know, fits it's like anyone who ever been hurt in uniform, so cops, firemen, EMT, all security guards, but if military obviously, and kids.
Yeah.
And we'd use the UFC a lot because we made the contacts, but Dave's taken groups to the Blue Jays
games,
basketball, the Raptors.
Yeah.
And you know, it's mostly been Toronto, but we want to expand it a little bit. But the one fear I have is that it becomes about money instead of the cause. Right. And that's where we're writing the constitution of the charity so that...
The business plan.
Well, just at the end of the year, there can't be money in the bank. And what I mean is, like, there's a lot of charities, they get to, like, say, they get, like, $6 million in the bank, and then the interest off that funds their operations, but they never touch that money, and it builds with interest and stuff.
Right.
It's like,
that's how you build wealth. But
that's what I mean.
But I mean, I don't see that as a bad thing. Sure, the idea is right, and spend all the money in the initial things. But
I've seen it
your
happen.
Your goal should be to become a powerful entity. You can't become a powerful entity.
Well, the problem with powerful entities,
money.
Guy, and I learned this in Kosovo when the Red Cross went through one of our checkpoints. There was like 10 of them went through, all by themselves in a land the Toyota Land Cruisers they have with the big snorkel, and so there's like 10 went through in the morning, each, and they had a local driver and them the back, and we have to stop.
That's a powerful.
And we're looking at the truck, and I'm like, okay, so on like the 6th or 7th one, I'm like, where the fuck are you guys all going? They're like, oh, we have a meeting at the airport. Well, all of you? Yeah. So instead of getting into 2 or 3 cars, these cunts all got into their own car because they have it, and then they like that's okay. So why do you each need a fucking car? And then there's money, and then you go to these events. It's about making the money, right? And then try to get some of that money. Like if you need money from a big charity, try and get
it. There's a lot of problems.
So
with some charities
the
like
problem
that. I mean, you could take examples.
As soon as you get big enough, they're all like.
Well, you take for example the United Way.
Oh, the worst.
Which is one of the worst.
Fucking worst.
Which is one of the worst. 80% of the money that they make throughout the year
to their staff
goes to administration.
Right.
Goes to administration.
And that's my thing. I figure if we keep it small, and if we got $6 million in the bank, let's figure out a way to spend it rather than worry about holding on to it. And how awesome an event could we run for $1 million? And so I got the idea from Michael J. Fox actually, because his charity is the biggest.
Parkinson's charity.
Yep. It researches more Parkinson's research, it funds more Parkinson's research than anyone else.
Right.
The U.S. government, the European Union.
It's huge.
So they give more money grants, right?
Yeah.
But his rule is at the end of the year there better be no money in the bank.
No money, zero.
There's you can document what charities, the big ones, what they pay their people, and it's sickening. Yeah, it's absolutely sickening.
The same job in a big corporation, they'd probably make 10 times what they make. But that, to me, if you're making $500,000 to run a charity, I have no issues with paying someone what they're worth. And one of my rules for the charity is we never ask for anything for free. But at the same time, you need to maintain that mentality of you're there to do good. And often because I worked with a charity in the military for the troops, it turns into you'll ask a charity for something and they go, well, is there any other what do they call it? Is there any other tool? Like they call it a tool or whatever that could fix this. So is there any other mechanism? Is there any other mechanism? What do you mean? Well, is there a fund through the military?
Is there somewhere else you can go for the money before you come down?
Exactly. And I'm like, who gives a fuck? You got money. We have a problem. You're going to make me look for another solution? I called you. But you're supposed to be a charity.
Charities, there's more bureaucracy involved in charities than...
Well, that's my point. The more money you get, the seams... like I said, just me looking in, and I've worked with a bunch of charities.
You got to answer to the man a lot quicker than...
Since I got hurt, I've helped raise with Andrew and a few other guys. We've helped raise close to $1 million.
Right.
And I'm just telling you, from what I see, the bigger and the more money, the more bureaucracy. And bureaucracy kills a lot of initiative.
I agree with that.
And so I'm saying, if all the money gets spent at the end of the year and the board can only be 4 or 5 people, and we're trying to figure out how do we open it up? Do we bring in members? Do we just they get a card and then we can vote, right? Hey, do we want to support this or not? And everyone says yay or nay.
I'm
just saying I don't want to
get there. I wouldn't worry about it.
I'm not worried.
You can do applications for funding.
Once I'm dead and gone, but that's the thing. Once I'm dead and gone, or if I walk away from the charity, if I want it to be, they got to completely dismantle it and change the name or whatever if they want to.
Why?
Because I don't want it to become the United Way.
Why? Okay.
That's all. That's all.
And that's a good point.
That's why it's in the Constitution.
That's noble. But my point is,
I might be full of shit. I don't
know.
No,
I think it's a pretty noble way of doing it.
It's noble. But here's a different way of looking at it. Could you not run a charity, run headlong at building a charity the way it's done?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Just hear me out here. Status quo. We're going to jump through every hoop that every charity does. We're going to look like a charity. We're going to smell like a charity.
We're going to report like one.
We're going to report like one. But guess what? Once we get there, once we have a little power and some credibility and we're a fucking charity, then we're going to run it the way Jody, I'm sorry for calling you Jody. The way Jody wants to run it. So think of it that way. Because the way you're thinking about it, and I'm not right or wrong, I'm just throwing it out there. You're trying to build something completely the way you don't build something. You're trying to build it like with your. It's kind of like a dogmatic approach. I'm going to do it Jody's fucking way, and it's not going to be any other way. And at the end, it's going to be this way. Why can't you get there doing it the way because it'll be easier. It'll be easier to get where you want to get by doing it the way everybody does it.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind that Jody's not going to dance everybody else's dance once I get there. Now, here's
wouldn't you want it to be a legacy as well? Once you're done and gone, that it would keep on helping guys.
No. I'm not saying it has to be shut down. I'm just saying for them to make it into something I don't I don't want to see it turn into.
Yep.
They can't.
You can't control
They
that.
can't.
They can't because it'll be right in the Constitution.
It's in the regulations.
If
you
you
cannot
change the laws of the charity,
that's fine.
If you want to change them, then you have to just start a whole new charity.
Do you see my point, though?
Oh no, but actually it's funny because the two guys.
Because you're going to get there quicker than trying to fight the system.
Oh no, I'm not trying to fight it, but you're right. I am. The two guys that are helping me, basically give me the same talk.
Right.
3 or 4 times now, and we just talked on Friday, and they're like, dude, we gotta do stuff, and I'm like, oh, I get it. I just don't want it to get out of control.
He's got the reins. He's holding on to the reins.
You're a bundle of idealism.
Yeah,
right.
You gotta quit shaking the table, though.
You're a bundle of idealism.
You're fucking it all up, Pete. Come on. I know you let us use your
place. Use my elbow on the table.
Pick your dime out of your day and sit at the table for us. But get it together. This is professional TV, man.
Charge them.
Just bang on the table.
I agree. You're right. You're right.
But the hardest thing to do, or not even the hardest thing, what happens is somebody starts out with an idealistic approach, and I want to be honorable, I want to do it the right way. Then trying to do it the right way, you don't get there as quick. You might get there, and it might be some Herculean task.
Yeah.
Be Sisyphus the rest of your life. Push the fucking rock up the hill
for
your whole life.
Well, but he's also got the ability to be able to put into the paperwork right off the bat that it can't become. It can't become the grand feast and the 80% of money going to administration that he doesn't want it to be, because it has the potential to become.
Because my philosophy with charity, and this is another example. I worked at the Soldier On Fund in the Army, and it pays for gym, or just to keep you active, right? And it gets guys. But it also connects.
My brother's involved with that on some level. Yeah, not involved with running it. He's a hurt soldier.
And I saw one day there's a golf course in Arnprior, and my buddy's father-in-law owns it, and they did the tournament, and they raised about $10,000 for Soldier On, and so I was going to drive out there on my own time and get it. And I was talking to one of the guys in the office, and he said, "How much?" I said, "Oh, they got like $10,000, so I'm gonna go and meet everybody." And he's like, "10,000? Tell them to fucking mail it." And I was like, to me, I was like, that is so. To him, he's like 10,000. Like that's fucking nothing. Because we had started getting donations of like $100,000 from some people, and I'm like,
insensitive. They become insensitized to how
important.
Well, to raise $10,000, but they worked really hard. They had to run the tournament. They had to bring in all this stuff for the people.
It's not an easy thing to do.
Right. And I'm like, so because it's not. And that's the thing. You get these big charities, and they'll give money to other little charities, right? So. For me, my philosophy, guy, is that if I can get $1 from if I can get $1 from you and $1 from you, that's only $2, but I get to tell 2 people. Or if you're rich, though, and you'll write me a check for $10,000, that's only 1 person. And are you going to remember? If you can write a check for $10,000, are you going to walk away going, "Oh yeah, Soldier On," or never quit, blah blah blah? No, you're gonna walk away going, "Where else?" Yeah, don't forget to mail me my tax receipt, by the way.
Where's my tax receipt? Because that's the only reason I'm really giving it to you is because.
But if I get $10,000, that's 10,000. If I get $1, if I get $1 from each person, that's 10,000 people I might be able to talk to and say, "This is my charity, and this is what I'm trying to do."
I worked a whole 9 months of collecting from clients and people and friends and family. And getting guys to sign up for the Army run just to raise $5,000 for Soldier On, and that took almost 9 months.
And that's what this grassroots.
Is there like a feeling of this is not going to be articulated well, but like a feeling of shame that you didn't get more?
No,
because I've heard
it was more of a feeling of accomplishment that we did what we got. We got what we did. We were giving, at least helping out.
And that's not what I'm trying to say. Like when a small little group raises a small amount of money, okay? It's like what you just said.
Yeah.
People look at it like, oh, the school raised $150. But it took them 3 semesters.
But you have 40 or 50 of those groups.
And what was their mechanism?
Driving money towards
pop
each
bottles?
Whatever, but my point is we don't, like, there's a...
But if all of those groups were to give up and say, screw it, we're not doing it anymore, then you have to rely on just those 2 or 3 guys that are going to give you a check for $500,000.
I'm not saying I'm not going to approach guys that'll give me $10,000. But I don't want to lose sight of grassroots organizing is what it is, and it's why Soldier On was so successful so quickly. It's why
that one guy who's giving you that $10,000 isn't going out and spilling the word of Soldier On
as much as the
and
guy,
saying you guys should get involved.
If we find a good one, but I'm saying
but chances are very small.
The most rabid supporters for a charity are the grassroots level, and if you ignore them because we only want big donations, I'm like, I've seen what it does.
They're not guys that believe in the
and
cause.
Maybe the
they
charity
want a tax
never gets
receipt.
huge.
That's what they want.
A lot of people.
They don't believe in your cause. They want a tax receipt. They're looking for a tax receipt.
I remember accepting a check.
They want their name on a plaque somewhere on the wall saying, Joe Q gave X amount of dollars to Soldier On. I mean, we're guys like me who will raise $5,000 or run the hand cycle division in the Army run and do things like getting 15, 16, 17 guys to sign up at $80 a piece to raise money for it. Don't care about getting their name on a plaque or...
You know what you did.
The hell with it.
You know what you did.
It's about giving back. It's about helping.
I accepted a check once for
$20,000.
It had 6 multi-billion-dollar companies gave in this 20, and it was they made sure that all their executives got a picture with it. You know how long it took us to actually get the the 1,200 from this company it took forever.
Probably would.
And they were talking billion-dollar companies,
right?
And they were all proud that the 6 of them contributed $20,000.
What I'm trying to say is the person who has a vested interest and really cares feels so deeply that it's what they're giving isn't enough, whereas the people who have it means nothing.
I see your point.
I see your point. It's like no matter what you do at the grassroots,
it's never enough.
It's never enough.
It's never enough.
It's never enough because it can never be enough.
But I can look at it on the other side of the spectrum and say as well, I'm not just some guy who can afford to write a $10,000 check and say, here you go.
But you could raise $10,000.
But I could raise
with an effort.
Right.
That's I don't know. And maybe like I said, Guy makes an awesome point.
There's a big difference.
There's
a big difference.
There's a way to do things.
Working your ass off and raising $10,000 and just signing a check over. There's a huge difference.
This is
huge difference morally, mentally.
This is so freaking bizarre.
It's deep.
This is freaking me right now. First off, this guy is just meeting this guy has been like really interesting. I know I've seen you in this city. I've been in the city for 20 years.
Yeah, I've been around.
I've walked past you. I've sat beside you.
You've probably seen him on a bike.
I may have served you in a restaurant.
Possibly.
I was a waiter for 10 years.
Yeah, where?
Bagel.
In
the market.
Yeah, I've been there hundreds of times.
He goes through the market on his bike
all
the time.
It's just, I know you, and I have this thing. It's sometimes it's a curse, sometimes it's a blessing.
You're right.
I never forget a face.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I can't remember the numbers that I wrote on a page yesterday.
Yeah, no, I'm good with faces. Just horrible with names.
It's terrible, and it's going to come to me. But I know, and I think I served you in a restaurant 20 years ago. Like something like that is what's.
Or even a few times, but you note him because he's in the chair, he's on his bike.
There's something, but it's driving me nuts. But back to it all boils down to the point that I'm trying to get across is you will accomplish more running with the stream.
Yeah.
Initially.
Yeah.
You got it. It makes sense. Run with the stream. Get as much. Take as much. And then, once you got something,
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I agree.
Then do it my way. But to run at something that's,
I know my guys.
What you're doing is
Dave
hard.
and
Trevor, to run at it with an attitude of I'm going to do it my way, and fuck you if you're going to get in front of me. You won't.
Oh no, I don't want to hurt anybody. But
you know
Dave and Trevor give me that. Like I said, they've given me this talk probably 10 times now. Just Friday.
It'll help you.
Trevor was because he's taking. Sorry if I'm talking shit on what you're taking, but Trevor's taking how to run a charity in school.
Yeah,
right.
And
somebody has to. Somebody has to do it right.
One time we were talking, and because I was saying,
it's totally different than running another business.
What did he say? Anyway, he says, "Listen, Jody, I don't want to hear any more of this. We're not going to get $3 million bullshit." He's like, "We're going to get it
exactly."
And I'm like, "Okay, yeah," and it is tough because I'm so afraid. But at the same time, if we're there, it should be fine.
It should be fine, and as long as you keep control,
that's it.
100% control.
And how fun would it be to spend $3 million?
Okay.
On awesomeness.
This is really neat. Samantha's
positivity.
Samantha's wish. Okay.
Be a lot of fun stuff.
Samantha's wish. You may have heard of it. You may have not.
Oh no, Erica's.
You've heard of tons of wishes. My younger brother. He's the guy who's hurt from. He's military. Let's say he's out of the military and he's injured and he's one of the reasons we started talking.
If you want anything edited too, just tell me.
No.
Like if you say something and they go, ooh.
Okay, so he lost his daughter at 6 months old. Okay, he went off to Bosnia, came back crazy, post-traumatic stress. Lost his daughter to cancer. Or no, pardon me. She needed a heart, so she was in Shield.
And this happened while he was gone, or after he came back?
No, this happened after he came back. But he tried to start a charity called Samantha's Wish for awareness for lungs and
heart defects and
so just awareness for organ donation.
Organ donation.
Okay. Right. And he started with the exact same sort of dogmatic. We're going to do it. We're going to do it our way. And then he got this pep talk a lot too. Like he in order to achieve anything, he just kept running into walls. One wall after another. One wall after another. It's this piece of paper filled out properly, or you're not a charitable. You're not a charity.
Yep.
Well, I do believe in process. Because like if you want to join a club, you gotta do what the rules say to join, right? And that's the way I kind of look at stuff. Is there's a process to get in, but like you said, once you're there, it doesn't mean you gotta keep going. Now that you're there, then you can go off and do your own thing.
You can do your own thing. You can make it. You can mold it the way you want it. It's your baby, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's also, if you once you're active in a charity, like, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a ton of fucking.
It's a lot of work. It's more work than a regular business.
It's like owning your own business is harder. It's more work
than working for someone else.
You guys had another.
You have to understand.
You guys had two gyms at one point, though, didn't you?
No, we're looking to get a second gym right now. We're in the process of opening.
So you've been here 15 years, though,
right?
And so what's been the biggest barrier to getting another place?
Cash.
Yeah.
Cash flow and finding a property and finding the right location. That's pretty much the three biggest things.
Your partner's Mike.
Yeah.
And so you guys knew each other before?
Yeah, we were living together. Well, I was living with a guy in a house that was a duplex. On the other side of the house was Mike, my business partner, and three other guys who were going to Carleton U, doing their degrees at Carleton University.
Okay.
So they were shacking up, and then we had our place next door. I was working in the nightclub industry and working at the Y, doing my courses and stuff, starting to do my courses and stuff.
So,
yeah, we worked at the Y
that's it.
Downtown Y.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I worked at the Y for years.
When I went to Carleton
University
20 years
downtown
ago.
Metro Central.
Yeah,
Argyle.
That's it.
Oh, awesome. So you guys saw each other at the gym?
I went to Carleton 87. Like, I'm 47. How old are you?
I'm 49.
Okay, so that's where it is.
My business partner is from Carleton.
What's his Mike? What?
Mike Hayden.
Mike Hayden's. He got curly hair.
No, black, sort of black, straightish hair. But he was on the rugby team. He's taking a law.
I know Mike Hayden.
You would know Mike.
I don't know him like we're friends or whatever, but I know who he is. Yeah, if you show me a picture of Mike,
look at that.
Who he is. That's
Never Quit Radio brings people together.
Carleton University.
Yeah.
Did you guys happen to live on
Sunnyside in Riverdale?
Yeah, over a pizza place?
No, right next door right down the street from the pizza place.
This is so.
In the duplex, right on the corner from the fire.
That's where it is. I used to hang out, live in this dirty crash pad where a bunch of guys right on the corner over the pizza place.
Okay.
And it's Carleton, or not Carleton, it's the Y. That's where I know you from.
Y. Mike and I both worked
out there.
Yeah, Mike and I both worked there.
So,
we started the training program there.
Yeah,
that's what it is. I knew it would come to me. That's what it is.
That's awesome.
We started the personal training program there with another guy that was the conditioning coordinator at the time, and it was the pilot project for all of Canada.
That's awesome. So, but with Top Shape, what's the name?
I started off as a sole proprietorship, Top Shape Fitness.
No, the road.
The road is Holland.
Holland?
Yeah.
So when you guys picked this spot, that was 15 years ago, right? And then, so what made you get into besides...
Actually, no, we started here, it wasn't 15. Top Shape, is 15 years old.
Right.
I started off as a sole proprietorship doing in-home training. And I was taking my certification course, and Mike decided to come along one day. He said, "What the hell?" I said, "I'll take the course with you." Because I was working in the nightclub industry. And it was a point where I was disillusioned, and it was getting to a point like, okay, I'm not going to work in bars the rest of my life. I don't want to be 41 years old DJing in a strip club. Thanks. It's not going to happen. I'm not going anywhere.
Put your hands together.
Yeah,
I was a 35-year-old waiter.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing any future. Blah blah blah. So I sat down, and Mike and I were neighbors. He was going to Carleton. We were working out together, and we sat down one day, and he said, "Listen, write down some ideas. What do you like to do?" "Well, I like to exercise." "Well, fitness, health and fitness back in the day, 1998, it was booming. It was starting to grow. The business was, a really good idea to get into."
Yeah.
He said, "Why don't you try that?"
So how many gyms died in this period?
That's a good
question.
Because we talked about this a couple weeks ago. So you guys survived the purge.
We didn't. We weren't a gym. We started off, like I said, as a sole proprietorship, and I was doing in-home training. And then Mike came on board and did a certification course with me just for the hell of it. He was taking his degree. He's got an honors degree in law from Carleton.
Yeah.
Never studied law. Well, studied law, but never went to law school. Never did his bar. Never did any of that. We just went into business together.
Yeah.
And we started off doing in-home training. We were driving around all over Hell's Half Acre, going into homes and doing in-home training. But it got to the point where the price of gas went up. The insurance on commercial vehicles was going high. It was to the point where you had to work 10-hour days just to break even. So it was like, okay, enough is enough. Let's bring something and do it from one location. Let's find a place, we'll go in-home and bring everything in and do it all from one spot.
Sweet.
And that's where we found this.
But what made you focus on, not focus maybe, but I know you, because you're in the wheelchair. Back then you weren't in the wheelchair though, were you?
No.
Like you were.
I've only been in the wheelchair for 7 years.
So did you have some sort of mobility?
I walked. I have spina bifida, right? So it's a birth defect of the spine.
Did you use?
I had crutches when I first off. I had braces, and then over the years of just walking the way you walk when you have disability.
That's what it is. That's what it is. That's how I remember you. You had a distinctive walk where your legs would go.
Right.
The distinctive walk that comes with spina bifida.
Exactly.
So because of that, though,
that was me.
That
was me.
And you were always big upper body.
Yeah, to some extent. Yeah. So
I was always. You've been training people with disabilities the whole time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, most of my in-home clients were people with various disabilities.
Whenever I'm here, like there's a cerebral palsy guy I thought I saw.
There's lots. We have
there's
spinal cord injuries, lots of car accident stuff.
Yeah.
We have MS clients.
So you're basically the go-to place in Ottawa
for rehab,
stay in shape if you have something that doesn't let you fit in a normal gym.
Yeah, we look at it.
This is the kind of environment, right? With Never Quit, or just where you bring people together. Because at the gym I work out at, I don't need to say the name.
No.
Like I said, I'm the guy everyone looks at, right? And here, man, I walk in here and I see people working out, and I go, "Fuck, I'm lazy." I'm lazy because of my legs. And this guy's in here. You should see this one guy in here. He's, he can't barely, he couldn't even pick this phone up easily.
I have guys that are quadriplegic, right? And I say, if a guy who's a quadriplegic who's paralyzed from here down,
get your shit together.
Can come to the gym 3 times a week, then there's no excuse for anyone else.
And that's one of the reasons, for Pete too, to help me out. But the thing I always wonder about with a gym, because when I first got hurt, I thought, because I couldn't find a place like this when I first got hurt, and so I thought, maybe I should look into opening a place. But what's the hardest part about keeping a gym going? In in Orleans, there's got to be 15 gyms for every 100 people.
Easily, yeah.
And so you were talking about this a couple weeks ago.
There's 12 Good Life or 15 Good Lives alone.
But you were saying in a couple of years, you're saying a lot of them will be gone, right?
Yeah,
that's what you figure.
There's just not enough of a population base to be able to.
So what's keeping them going now? How are they open now?
Their numbers. A lot of them are using their credits. A lot of them are keeping their businesses going.
Like that new one that just opened up the end of my street.
But they're closing down left and right. We've had 2 closed in the city.
It's too beautiful to make it here. That's me doing it.
We've had 2 closed in the city just in the last 2 weeks.
Well, what happened there on Sussex?
That's gone.
No, but overnight he moved out all the gear.
Couldn't pay his rent.
Is that what they're saying?
He did a midnight move.
But he's been open for 10 years.
Yeah, it gets to a point where you just can't do it. You're charging so much, and you can't keep it.
So how if business got bad, how long could you guys last? This is what I'm trying to figure out about.
Well, you have ups and downs, right? There's times throughout the year where it gets really, really quiet. It gets really, really dead, and if you don't have a big enough bank account to keep it going through that 3 or 4 months of lull where there's no people signing up and that kind of stuff. So the idea is to have niche markets. Like for us right now, it's the physiotherapy and the insurance claims, being able to build.
But you also have the credibility of being able to handle those clients through experience, not just through books, right?
Right.
So, but this is what I mean, like, so that gym, literally overnight, people are working. I read the thing in the paper. The guy was working out there that night, and he said, "Oh, don't worry about the movers. They're just moving some equipment around." And then by 7 the next morning, people are showing up to work out, and they can't get in.
It's closed.
So like
that happened to me.
There's a lot of that going on. There'll be a lot more of that going on.
So this is what I'm saying. Like, so how does a gym avoid that?
When you're a numbers-based gym, and all you are is open because 10,000 people bought memberships, and there's no assistance for those people. It's a come in and work out and do what you want to do. The average Joe is 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
From signing on to a membership. Like, all the gyms want you to buy a membership, but they don't want you to show up. Yeah. Good Life wants 15,000 people to buy a membership, but the last thing they want is 15,000 people to show up.
But then why maintain a huge facility like that then?
Well, that's the idea, right? It costs a lot to maintain a facility.
I've looked into commercial.
If you have 20,000 members, 5,000 or 6,000 members might show up.
Do you remember the Good Life that collapsed or did the night move in the Rito?
You're still paying. There's still money coming out of your account every month,
yep.
Whether you're going to the gym or not.
I've only gone to the gym for 6 the last.
They want 20,000 people to show up. They don't want 20. They want 20,000 people, to sign up, but they don't want 20,000 people showing up.
So you're doing a grassroots approach.
We are the anti-gym gym.
Yeah.
We don't do membership fees. We don't do initiation fees. We don't believe in any of that stuff.
Well, no. What initiation fee was? I've never understood that.
There's an initiation fee at Good Life. It's $149, and you get absolutely zero.
No,
I get nothing for it. What you get for it is the right to become a member.
That's what I'm saying. Initiation fee to join a gym seems weird.
And then you have to pay Then there's a membership fee on top, and then if you want to work with a personal trainer, there's a personal training fee on top of that, which is $80 an hour.
Is there any pain? That's a stupid question. Is there a lot of pain management through exercise? Or
there can be, just the endorphins and the dopamine.
A lot of pain.
The things that you get normally from exercising can reduce a lot of pain.
I find my back pain goes way down when I'm in shape. My back pain is almost zero.
I have a client here.
That's how I judge how much exercise I do. I'll go for 3-4 months and
I have a young guy here who was in a car accident who's a paraplegic. He's T11 spine. He's paralyzed.
I think that's the guy
he's paralyzed. The bald kid? Maxim.
I think so.
He's paralyzed from the nipple level down, and when he was doing his rehab, he has a lot of pain in his left shoulder. His left shoulder causes him extreme pain. And they more or less told him never to exercise. And I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I can't believe someone's telling you never to exercise.
It just makes it worse, doesn't it?
Ever since he started working out, pain's gone. Shoulder's getting healthier, getting stronger, no more imbalances in strength. He's playing sledge hockey now.
My parents passed away within 3 months of each other. Both were ill, and they passed away my dad from literally a broken heart.
Yeah, that's fairly common. Yeah,
he had a quadruple bypass. Yeah. And the day my mom died, and they told him you could live forever. And he just didn't want to.
Didn't want to.
But I had a pain in my chest for a year. Went to all the doctors and couldn't figure out what it was. It was because I wasn't exercising. Yeah. It was like and I kept saying every time I go to the doctor, he'd go, well, what happens when you ride a bike and I'm like, well, it goes away. And they'd laugh and they'd go, well, maybe you should exercise. I took all the stress tests on the thing. As soon as I started exercising again, the heart pain went away. Like I said, I had a broken heart for a year. I had a stress pain from.
It was stress.
It was stress from just being.
I've had that.
Tight and tight.
Every now and then I'll get a pain.
Look at that. You get them in the neck a lot, in the upper back. You get it. I get it too from upper back pain all the time.
So what about psychologically broken people?
Exercise.
No, but I mean, is it? Do you attribute it to the same kind of battle as a physically broken person?
Since I've been hurt, and in the army, we had a terrible. You were in the militia for a bit, in the 80s or 90s.
Be the 80s.
In the 80s.
So the late 80s. I joined in '94, and it was don't be weak, don't be idle, don't complain, and it's still kind of there, but it's getting better. But and because you don't, it's just like if someone says they have a terrible back. It's one of those. Is it true that they can't prove or disprove a back pain? A lot of it. right?
It's very, very difficult.
Right.
It's
so
80%.
If you don't have it,
musculature.
but a guy's on the couch, and I've seen this, guys will lay on the couch, right, and they'll prop their legs up or whatever. You go, how bad could it be? Come on, quit bullshitting.
You're reading my mind. Right?
And it's
pretty bad.
You know,
it's immobilizing.
For me,
sometimes.
since I got hurt, especially, I've always been an understanding guy. I sympathize with people, but since I got hurt, though, I don't see.
I've had back pains.
I don't believe you have mental injury, like if you're like PTSD, is like a sprained ankle. For a lot of people, and they've changed it in the military now. It's an OSI, operational stress injury, because you take away the post-traumatic stress disorder word, right? That sounds like cancer. That sounds like AIDS. But you say blah blah blah. It's an operational stress injury.
Right.
Now it's an injury, and with counseling's like rehab, right? And if you go home and do what the doctor tells you, don't lean on the table.
Too late.
Well, you can get better. I had an OSI because I got my fucking legs blown off.
Well, of course.
And I know. And someone said.
Expected to happen.
And someone, I got back to the unit.
How could you not?
Just under a year. Like it was like a week less, a year less a week. I did my first parade with the unit, and I was walking around. And I had someone call me, or I was talking to someone, and they had been called by someone at the unit, and they were like, "He's not the same guy." And they said, well, that's the PTSD. But I was never diagnosed. So someone made an assumption. But
are you the same guy? How could you be?
Well, I've been told I'm the same guy.
It's absolutely
now.
impossible to be the same person.
You're not the same person.
Well,
you went through a devastating injury that would put most people out of their lives.
You're not the same guy. You're a different guy.
But
you might want to cling to some of that old guy.
Yeah, but you can come out of it is my point.
But you don't come out of it the same person.
No, thank you. You can't.
No, but you can't
be a different person.
If depending on who you're dealing with, some people are convinced that they're sick that they're not.
No, I understand.
Like you said, the doctor said, don't ever work out to that kid, and now he works out and he feels great. And that's the thing with mental injury. I think you can wallow in it, and it's tough. I know because it's mental. In your brain is your most powerful muscle.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
And if you sprain it, which is what a mental injury must be like some people see shit. Like their brain imprints stuff into the world.
It's just as real to them.
And it's real to them, And you talk to some people and they get stressed over it. And you can't, I'm like, you're stressed over, let's say you lose the charger for your phone. I've seen people go off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, just go buy another one.
So has that changed for you then?
I'm very understanding now.
Before, you strike me as an emotional, you're a firecracker.
I can be, but I'm also very laid back.
Okay, but before, were you the guy running around yelling at your wife or your girlfriend because the shirt wasn't ironed, or you're going to be late, or you're going to... I see people who are like that, who go through something traumatic or big, then they change and then they become something. But I bet you're still really the same guy with more patience.
I'm very at fault for in the past. I'm
a little bit right.
I had a fiance
for granted before and not taking it for granted as much.
I had a fiance.
This is the thing that
when the first time I went
uncomfortable to sit beside you is that I take life so fucking for granted that it's and complain about things that and worry about things that and I know you don't.
Yeah.
And I
you never went on tour or anything? Eh?
No.
So here's something. When I went to Kosovo in 2000, we came back, and I was 23 at the time. And I remember coming back, and a lot of us, we were all so angry at Canadian society. Like, people would be in Tim Hortons, fuck, they're out of Timbits, and we'd be like rage, and you'd be like, Timbits, because we were around people who didn't have food, like medical care. Forget medical. No, they didn't have roofs on their houses.
So lucky.
And I'm just but that's their life, and this is our life, right? So it took me and as a younger soldier, and the older guys, they bring you, they go, look, you got to get over these feelings, and I remember and so I started and I understood though as well, it's not natural to be that mad at someone because they wanted a Timbit. You know? No. So I started doing yoga, I started meditating, I was reading more, you know, more open-minded stuff.
Right.
And I've never been a believer in this is the way it is. So I've always tried to sympathize and look at something, you know, like if we had a sergeant major once who was everybody hated him, and then I tried to look at things and I went, you know what, that particular action that did piss us all off in his world with his peer group and the people he deals with, that makes a lot of fucking sense.
Makes more sense.
Yeah. But anyway, so the first time I went to Afghanistan, I was engaged to a woman. She asked me to marry her right before I left, and I remember being gone for 6 months, and I came back, and I owned a shitty piece of shit house in a village called Chalk River. I bought the house for like 50 grand, right? A $50,000 house. Yeah. And you know, this was before the big boom, but
might as well be a trailer. She
had painted a couple of the rooms and done some drywalling. Like I've never drywalled, and I remember coming back, and I was such an asshole, and I was like, really, that's all you did in 6 months? And she, you know, she was a little younger than me and stuff, and her face just dropped, and she was like, you have no idea. And I'm like, because to me, I'm like, I was dodging fucking driving through Kabul, which was a fucking daily, buddies of mine have been blown up. This was the first time, like, friends had actually been killed, right? My buddy TJ was the only survivor in the vehicle that blew up, and I went and saw him right after at the clinic, and I'm like, holy fuck, this is my friend. He could have died, and two of my friends did die. And I'm like, as much as it, like I told you, as a soldier, that's the life. But at the same time, so I come home, and she's like, oh, look what I did. And I'm all like, that's it? Yeah. And I think back now, I'm like, what a douchebag.
Yeah.
Really?
Slapped you.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
so people complain about the stupidest things.
But you've grown because of what's happened to you. You think of things differently now. You have a different perspective.
Well, I think it made me a better person.
He also has children.
Probably. Yeah, that's the
He's also become a father, which is probably one of the biggest life-changing events you're ever going to do.
I was a pretty good dude. Like
next to being injured severely. I mean, you take somebody who's been injured like Jody, for example, or someone with a disability like myself, and you can't even begin to imagine the things that have to go on every day just to be able for him to come here to be here today, or for me just to come here to be here today. And you have things like, okay, these people put up with leg pain, phantom pain. You've got somebody with a spinal cord injury that has to put up with bowel and bladder dysfunction, that has to go put on a leg bag and a catheter, catheterize every 4 hours. And things like that, but like you will never hear us complain about that.
That's our life.
You'll never hear me complain about that. You'll never hear me say, "Oh fuck, my life sucks," or "I feel shitty because my leg bag decided to blow up last night and there was piss all over the place."
Did that actually happen?
It's happened.
Oh yeah,
it has happened. I'm saying now you got to clean the laundry, you got to strip the bed, you got to clean, you got to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a job, it's a task, but we're not going about it. Oh fuck, my life sucks and this blows, and blah blah blah. It's part of life. It's part of every day having to put up with being a person with a disability, and it's just to me it's normal, right? It's the same thing as anybody else.
Okay, so before we run too late here, I wanted to talk about. Are there tons of tools? Are there tons of places to, like, do you have a huge network of assistants? Like, was there? Did you have to dig to find the stuff that you needed to learn to do the things you need to do every day? Or is that just readily available in our society?
Well, I met Pete. Pete's one of my assistants. I hate to say the word tool, but
but he's a mechanism.
But I met Pete through Soldier On, right? Okay. And Soldier On was put in place because the military realized that they didn't have any mechanism. And there's only so much networking can help you, because, like, after I got blown up, I asked my prosthetist, the guy who makes my legs, and I said, because as a soldier, everyone thinks I'm a big runner,
right?
And I wasn't. But in the Army, you run.
You have to run.
You run 5K before breakfast usually, and then maybe a few K after, depending on how you do it. And I struggled as a runner. and that's one of the reasons I really got into fitness from the caveman. Like I call it caveman fitness, and I've read books like Born to Run, and like the more expensive and supportive your running shoe is, the more it's hurting you.
The more difficult.
Because I couldn't run because I'm a big guy. I was 215 pounds, 6'4".
We're born to run barefoot.
And I had to, I would go buy the fucking shoe with the heel cup and the arch support because I was told as a young man I had really high arches, and that's bad. I've come to find out later in life after reading that was really good actually.
Perfect for running.
And I was a really fast runner as a young man too. And so anyway, I just started researching and realized humans conquered the planet running. We used to run. We used to run things down to eat them
until they were tired.
And what? Like a modern running shoe, your foot does everything a modern running shoe claims to do. Like an arch support is the same as putting on a brace on your bicep and doing curls that allows the bicep to do nothing.
Right.
So through all that, so when I got hurt, like I told you, I looked at my recovery as my duty. It's my job now in the military. Yes, I was a sniper and whatever, but now my classification is wounded guy. And when you're wounded, you have to get better so you can get back to your real duty, right? So part of that was running. So when we got the legs, there was no support group. There's the running room has the double amputee group. Yeah, they meet Thursdays. So we called the manufacturer of the legs.
That's what I'm talking about.
I called the manufacturer of the legs.
Why isn't there?
Who else? It's just
no one started one.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, that's
when.
There's information.
I'm trying.
There's people. There's information out there.
There's lots of people trying, and it's one of those things where, unfortunately, it's true that every case is different. So I can support another double amputee, but I mean, I met a guy. I went to the hospital right after he got wounded. He was missing both legs, but his pelvis had been shattered. His pelvis had been shattered. Okay. So when I'm running and I'm going, Mark, why can't you run? He goes, dude.
No pelvis.
But
I need new hips.
Take it to the most base level. You two have something in common.
Yeah.
And you kind of just pushed it aside when it's mental. You both have the same mental strength because you have to. You got a mental strength that I don't have, that a guy who doesn't have to have it. So my point is this. You just said that every case is different.
Yeah.
But every case is the same at some level.
Well, the
what
thing
I'm
we
saying
can
is
do is support each other.
There's one thing that can pull no matter what you got, as
That's
long
right.
as you got something, there's got to be one thing that no matter if I'm sitting beside him and I'm broken here and he's broken there, we're still going to be able to relate, and we're here for a reason.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I can't wrap my head around.
Two of the
don't
guys,
have enough resources.
Two of the guys I took to the UFC in Toronto were PTSD. Right.
And my brother is, and that's why
and my partner, my baby mama, Alana, everybody knows her name. She had PTSD for a bit. So, and a lot of my good buddies have had it. And so this is when you asked me the question a bit ago, I sympathize now. Like, I think I'm a better person, like you said, but I sympathize with the recovery, but I don't coddle it, right? And that's part of the problem. Certain physical injuries, I'm sure you've seen people that were coddled by the system or their doctor or their
family.
Family. They're told, oh, you have a bad back or whatever,
Don't do this, don't do that.
As with spina bifida, the last thing they probably ever thought you should do is body build and all this stuff. I don't know. I have no idea, but you did it, and you're in great shape. So when you bring someone together, you have to realize what their issues are, but you can't coddle them to a point where it's enabling them to continue, right? And I think that's the key now. And instead of padding the room, right? Just like with kids, now we've realized padding their lives has made a bunch of useless people and a couple of generations behind us. And now we're figuring out that
they think everything
the park has to have some danger in it, right? They've said, psychologically it's really good for kids to be in danger. Well, yeah, they're fucking animals, right? Just like the rest of us. So that's where we'd never quit. We're trying to build a network, but there's all these networks of people, like the police have them, the fire department has them, but we can all work together. And that's, I think, your point, your idea actually that you emailed me is really good, and that's the direction for Never Quit. It's not going to be oh, we only do UFC and we only have physical injuries.
No.
It's as long as you were in uniform, or maybe
you guys have to have a way of thinking,
and that's
of how you're going to develop these guys into people that are no longer able to do the things that they were going to do.
I don't consider it my job to coach or to
develop them,
to rehab them.
No, I'm not talking about rehabbing them, but you have to be able to enable them and enable some sort of independence in these guys.
This is the thing.
To be able to teach them
if we pair people up or just bring them, it's almost mentoring. Even though mine's a physical injury, and yours might be a mental. If we get together, and I take you outside when it's sunny, I bring you somewhere, and we go to UFC, and hey, well, I have a friend, he can't handle crowds. He's got wicked PTSD, but he's getting better. And I don't coddle him, but at the same time, if he says something, I don't question it.
You don't listen. You don't not.
I go,
listen
okay,
to
you're not good with it yet, and I'll ask him again in 3 months.
You don't need a guy going off and losing it and killing 10 people either, right? So the idea is you have to be there in order to listen to the problems. But by me having some sort of mental problem, cognitive disability, let's say, and being able to understand that I can see Jody with his physical limitations battle what he's battling every day and be able to get through what he gets through every day helps me understand myself that much better by saying, okay, if he can get through what he gets through, and all I have is a small problem with crowds,
it really upsets
I have this issue with crowds. Okay, how do I get along?
Are you the type of guy who, like, we were sitting yesterday in at our kids' dance class, and we're talking about beef, and where do you get beef? And he says to me, well, and I mentioned a butcher, and he's like, well, let's go. Like, that's not how I work. That's not how I work. And then in my head I go, yeah, let's go. And then luckily there was something.
I gotta go to the birthday party.
Yeah, luckily there was something that I had to do, or else I'd have been like, well, there's a reason why I can't do this right now. There's a reason why I can't live life right now.
I can't go to the butcher right now.
I have a hard time.
This second, you know what I mean? I want to live my life like that. I don't know how.
Agreed.
And I think people who have, and this is just an assumption and a generalization, people who've had some sort of trauma, some sort of mountain to climb, they live more in the today. When I get crazy, I go like this in my head. I go, today, I'm here, I'm now. Like, deal with now, where you are right this second, because this table is here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then everything just goes zoop, and you're back. You're back to where you need to be.
It depends how you
I'm not a big fan of like I went to Europe in 2000 from Kosovo. We're in Europe, right? I knew where I was starting because they dictate that, and and I had to pick a place to fly back from. In between, made it all up. And I like making the way I look at stuff is there's a start line and an end line. In between, that's all up to you if you want. You can run the course that's laid out.
Right. Or you can make it.
Or you can make it up.
Right.
Is it cheating to cut across?
Well, I mean, this is like, I'll talk at the running room to people training to run, and they say, it's like, well, there's an end line. As long as you keep moving forward, you're going to get there eventually, whether it takes you 3 or 4 or 5 hours. But it's not like there's surprises along the way. So, like, running a marathon's easy. You just got to get past the whole physical side of it. And the mental side is, you started 10 feet from this finish line. It's you know what I mean? Like, know exact. It's not like along the way they're going to be going, surprise, here's 10 more K.
Here's 10 more
right?
K. Right?
But if you
jumping out and grabbing you by the shirt and pulling you back.
But if you have, like, combat is the same. We lost 60,000 guys at the Battle of the Somme in a day because there was a plan, right? The general said
nobody would get off of it.
The general, they couldn't. They weren't allowed. The general said, we will start here, we'll end here, and along the way you will stop here, here, and here. We'll have artillery here. And the Germans weren't there for the planning. They were,
You're talking about how they were sending farmers into the water who didn't know how to swim. You're talking about that battle?
The Battle of the Somme.
They had to cross a river.
No, I don't. No, there was no river, but they launched. The plan was to destroy the enemy defenses with such a massive bombardment that nothing will survive.
Okay.
Well, the Germans survived, but the orders were to advance at the slow march with full pack in line. Because they just expected to walk over and jump in the trenches, and the Germans would all be dead. So they did, and they're walking, and they're all getting shot. They're going, can we run? Can we drop our packs? And they're going, well, no, the plan says we got to. So my point is that now, because they learned, 60,000 guys died that day anyway.
You have to learn to think for
now,
yourself.
when I was in combat,
we don't want machines.
When I was in
want
combat,
guys that can think.
It was, Jody, here's the plan. We're going to start here, and we want to end here. In between, we'll see what happens.
It's up to you. Yeah.
It's a different mentality.
And so I've always lived my life kind of like there's rules when there's rules, but when there's no rules, if it's not specifically forbidden, it's authorized. It's authorized. In my view. Right? And you're kind of living, I'm not being a jerk, but I'm trying to say you see things as unless it's specifically authorized, it's forbidden. It's what it sounds like, your description of the way you look at things. For me, going to the butcher, which is right there, it's just, let's go, we want to check it out, let's go check it out. You were busy, right? So you had a good reason, but it's not like we need to get out our date books and plan. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But I did a lot of improv acting in high school too, so I don't know if that helps me.
That probably helps the think like that. That's improvisation. But yeah, the military background helps that a lot because they don't want guys. They're not looking for machines anymore. They're not looking for robots.
Well, no, but you still they
want you
tell
to be able
you
to
where
think
to be
on your feet.
Yeah, but that's in the moment, right?
Yeah.
But they still tell you where to be, what to wear, what to bring, how long you're going to be gone.
Point A, point B, right?
As much as I hated it, was the being in the military was probably the best thing ever for me.
Well, for me too. As
much as it really was. It taught me discipline, direction, self-respect, respect for others.
So we're at an hour 20. So let's wrap it up. Thanks for letting us use Top Shape.
Pleasure. Anytime.
Top Shape Fitness Studio, which is what's the address?
95 Holland.
95 Holland Avenue in Ottawa. What's that main road there?
Wellington.
Right off Wellington.
Because I know I've seen you in the past.
Guy, thanks for coming. This is good. This is good. Awesome. Guy, I think, will be on many more. I think he has a really good idea for networking that I think the podcast and a few things will help with. And hopefully I can get this up on iTunes and YouTube. And do we have any other people we should thank right now? Nobody's paying us, so fuck it.
No, screw them all.
That'll be it. All right. Thanks.